Okay, I'm live. Yay! All right, welcome. Oh, let me fix the camera angle slightly here. Let's see a little bit more of me on the floor here. Okay, welcome everyone. This is the Divine Me Time channel, and Hurricane Ian is making landfall in Florida. I'm not in Florida, but I have family there and friends. And so I wanted to create a practice for those who are there and riding out the storm. And of course, it's a metaphor for the rest of us who may be riding out other storms. And there's an unpredictability in the storm and what kind of damage it might present, what kind of challenges. We never know really how long or how strong or what the effects will be. And that's pretty much true of everything, every challenge that we face in life. And there's not a lot we can do either when it's nature, when it's something out of our control. And that can be pretty disconcerting. Or as my sister who is writing it out, she's all set with her chocolate for apparently in the US it's National Chocolate Day, so that's a way to celebrate. So we're going to start with a restorative pose, and for this, I'm going to just back up here. I have two bolsters. Obviously, if you don't have bolsters, you can use anything you have that can create this height. I've got, it's maybe a little over a foot, 12 inches or so of height, and it's pretty firm. So whatever you can do to build this up for yourself, whether it is an actual yoga bolster, or couch cushions, or your bed pillows, or even folded blankets that are folded into quarters or eighths or whatever you can do to stack. And we're going to do a child's pose with these. So go ahead and get your cushions and whatnot. I'm going to go ahead and get started, and you can just build your shape and join me when you can. We'll be there for some time, just relaxing into the posture. So once you do get the setup, you're going to open your knees out to the width of whatever you've got. Now, if you've got really wide fat cushions, obviously you're not going to be able to get your knees around them. So just adjust as you need to. You can back up if you need to. But if you have something fairly narrow, try to get your body around whatever your supports are. And then if you have a top piece or something that's separate from the bottom that you can pull in towards the body, go ahead and do that. And then you might want something for your head. As you bring your upper body down, don't do it yet unless you want to. You might not be comfortable with your forehead on the support because it might squish your nose, and you'll want to be able to turn your head right or left comfortably, or this might do the trick of giving you enough height so your nose isn't squished. So let's just sit for a moment, feel grounded through the legs. Just check in with the spine, feeling the natural curves of the back, the lower back curving inward, middle back curving outward, into the neck, which curves inward just like the lower back, and up into the head. As you become aware of the spine, finding some length through it. You might even have your hands on your knees or perhaps on your supports. And use a little pressure downward to find a little extra length through the spine. And then once you do, start to lean forward at the hips and bring yourself all the way down. Here, checking in with how you would like your head. I'm going to try to have my nose straight down. The arms can rest on the floor. If you're quite high up, your arms might not comfortably reach the floor, or you might feel like you're too far away to rest the arms. If that's the case, and you happen to have a couple of blocks, you can use a block or anything else really that's about the same that you can put on both sides that will support the arms a little higher. The other thing that you can do that I really like to do is to hug the bolsters or whatever you've got and put your arms right around and through. And I think I'm going to actually turn my head to the side. So here we are, we're finally in our pose. And there may be some further adjustments you need to make to ensure your optimal comfort. You might find having a rolled blanket under your ankles to be supportive. If you feel any pain through the tops of the feet and that ankle area. You might find that you want a little extra support under the knees, just with a very thin cushion blanket or something. But then at some point, just give in. Give in and trust the support. Feel your body softening. Feel the breath moving the body. And feel just how that front body, the whole front, where the heart is, the belly, our vulnerable front. Notice how it is up against the support, feeling protected. And tune in also to the back body, our more protective shell side. But it's also the space behind us, which is unseen, unseeable, representing some of the uncertainty of a storm, but also noticing how it protects that vulnerable underbelly. And with the breath, feeling that back body as it lifts and stretches open. And with the exhalation, softens and releases, letting go of stress and tension. Finding comfort, physical and mental, emotional. And let's turn, if you have the head turned to one side, let's go ahead and turn the head towards the other cheek. And since I'll be turned away from the microphone, we'll just be in silence on the other side. So with a deep breath, just come and face down. If your hands are wrapped around your props, just bring them out and place your hands under about where your shoulders are to push gently up. Taking a moment here, let's just bring the chest forward, keeping the chin level, and then round, starting with the lower back, up through the middle back and up all the way into the neck to round. And again, bringing the chest through, starting with the neck, then the chest, and then the lower back. And on the exhalation, rounding lower back up to the middle, to the neck. Inhale, head first. And exhale, lower back first. Using your strength to come all the way up to a seated position on your heels. And then let's go ahead and move the bolsters out of the way. Okay. So let's do a little work on our backs. We're going to be in Starfish Pose. So nice and stretched out here. Legs to the corners of the mat, if you have a mat. I might leave that there for my head. And then arms out to the upper corners. And so this position is pretty much the exact opposite of what we were just doing. So notice how it feels to be now open in the front and exposed. And feel the back body now with a certainty behind it. You can feel the floor. That's what's there. And notice just the length through, sensation of length through the trunk and belly as you breathe. And then we're going to, it's actually a little cold here, so the first thing I'm going to do is cover my upper body a little bit just to take some of the chill off. There we go. You should hopefully still see what you need to see. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to work with the hip and the whole leg, but through the hip, initiating with the hip. So I'm going to turn my right leg inward. So the whole leg, just feeling it turn in as much as is comfortable. Noticing what happens through the upper body, feeling that back of the pelvis, maybe even the whole butt cheek lift off the ground. That side of the lower back as well. And then releasing and rolling back. Letting go completely. I'm going to repeat that. So I'm going to rotate the leg inward. Try to keep everything else still. And then hold just a moment, feeling and release completely. Let's move on now to the left leg. So rotating inward. Might be a different experience on this side. Notice the moment when something changes in the upper body. Noticing the chain of response. Holding for a moment. And then releasing completely. And let's repeat that. So rolling that leg inward. Letting it reach up into parts of the back. Keeping everything else that's still connected to the floor soft. Hold. And release. Take a nice deep breath here. Feeling any warmth through the back of the pelvis. Now let's do the same thing. We're going to stand the right leg. And this time we're going to let the knee drop in towards the midline. Push in with the foot. Feel that hip lift off the ground. Keep arching. Keep the momentum going. Allow the chain response. So we're shortened through the waist on that side. Nice and long on the left. Hold. Breathe. And soften and release back. You can keep the knee standing. Let's try that again. So we'll push in with the foot, allow that knee to cross the midline. Just keep pushing and let that response move all the way up. Keeping the head nice and heavy, the arms nice and heavy. Breathe and release. Back to neutral. And go ahead and straighten that leg. Just noticing any differences you might feel between right and left. Drawing the left foot up to standing. Pushing in with the foot. Letting that knee cross over the midline, now heading the other direction. So as you press, just let that impression reverberate all the way up as far as is comfortable for you, keeping the limbs and head heavy, but allow them to move off to the side. As you land, breathe. And when you exhale, just let yourself come back, keeping the foot standing. We'll repeat that. So when you're ready, start by pressing in with the foot, allowing the knee to cross over the midline, and movement all the way up the spine. Shortening the left waist, lengthening through the underside. Breathe. And release. Go ahead and lengthen that leg now. Back into your star shape. Just noticing the effects of that. Now let's just do a little rocking. So turning in the right leg inward and then release, and then the left leg inward and release. So we're just going to go back and forth until it becomes a little spontaneous sort of rocking back and forth. Your heels kind of pushing inward toward the floor. Just rock. And release. Notice any relaxation response in the body, any need to yawn, always honor that. Now go ahead and grab either something you were using earlier for the restorative child's pose, or you can use simply a yoga block. Anything you can put under your sacrum. We're going to bend the knees first into the standing. And take a moment here just to feel the back body and how it is relating to the floor. So you might have space behind your lower back, or your back might be flat to the floor. Just notice how you're landing here. Drawing the feet a little closer to the buttocks than maybe you have them at the moment. And lifting your heels just off the floor enough as if you were going to slide something under and then rest them back. So it's just a fractional amount that they might be off the floor. You're going to push the toes into the ground and then allow that chain response through the rest of the body. So the hips will start to float up. Here's where you will take your cushion, your blanket, whatever you've got that you can push and settle right under your sacrum. So not the lower back, but a little lower onto that triangular bone right at the base of the spine. And then you can lower your heels back, and we'll just stay here in a supported bridge pose. Now, if for any reason this doesn't feel comfortable for your lower back, you're always welcome to remove the prop and just remain in constructive rest. Some of you might want to use another height on the block. So if you're feeling quite comfortable and you want more of an incline, you can turn the block up to the mid height or even all the way up to the highest height. I think I will just leave myself here on the mid height. So here, notice how the body's weight is pouring into the upper back. Make sure that your legs aren't splaying out and open. They can be, but just see what it's like to initiate through the inner thighs to bring the knees towards each other. And as I attempt to relax here, I'm noticing my legs are really quite feeling kind of jittery. So I'm going to go down back to the lowest height of my block. And I'm just going to stretch my legs out one at a time and just check in here to see if that is comfortable with my lower back. Now, for some, that might create too much of an arch through the back. However, you might like that sensation, so just give it a try. You can also just extend one leg at a time, and what that will allow you to do is open up through the groin, which is what I feel I need at the moment. So either any of those alternatives, either one leg at a time stretched out so you can feel the lengthening through the groin area, or both legs stretched out, or just stay in your bridge pose. The arms can be wherever you choose alongside the body. Even up overhead can be really nice if you want a very long sensation through the body. I just need to move my block a little. So these microscopic adjustments, tiny little adjustments, can be the world of difference if you're not quite in the right place. Much better. And with each breath, just try to find that emptying of the belly, the stretching of the interior, the falling back through the body towards the spine of the belly, and the place where the arms can really rest, even if it means they have to come a little out to the sides more. You might find that flexing through the feet feels a little more supportive. And then if your legs are outstretched, let's bring one foot at a time back. Now here you can either keep your prop under your sacrum and bring one knee at a time into your chest. If it doesn't feel comfortable for you to have a support there lifting your hips, then just let them come back down to the floor and take one knee in towards your chest at a time, counteracting that extension. Now, as you are here, see if you can, depending on how close your knees are able to get to yourself and how well your arms fit around you, see if there is a way that you can clasp hands, arms, wrists, whatever you can. You could also, I guess, use a belt if you had a hard time getting around the circumference of your legs. So we just want the legs to be able to rest together, knees falling towards the chest, and just noticing here now what's happening in the back body. Maybe feeling the tailbone curling up and away from the floor. Allow the shoulders, if they are pulling away, which often happens if we're trying, especially if we're trying to hold the legs and we're really tight through the back, then we want to be able to find a way to let the shoulders melt back towards the floor, even if it means separating the hands, holding on perhaps just to one knee with each hand. And then also see now as your shoulders come back to the floor, see if you can allow your tailbone to release back to the floor. And it might mean that your thighs move away from your chest and that your back might arch a little bit. But keep releasing the shoulders. Keep releasing the lower back. Tailbone. It's almost as if we are bringing all the bones of the spine back towards each other and meeting in the middle. So the tailbone kind of presses into the ground. Lower back might arch. Shoulders pressing into the ground just like the tailbone. At least that's the direction we want to go. And feeling now that space between lower and upper back. This is something that takes time to sense and feel and really feel like getting it. So if you're not quite sure, am I getting it? Just do your best with it. And really, what you could do, as opposed to try to get there with the mind, is just think about softening the tailbone, softening the shoulders back. And then just see what happens. It might happen automatically. That space between lower and upper back just kind of happens spontaneously. Good. And you can release whenever you would like back into constructive rest. Excuse me. And then I'm going to invite you now to move into a Shavasana. And, excuse me, if you're going to come up to readjust yourself or to grab a prop for your knees or anything, please, please come up in a nice, respectful way for the body, turning onto one side or rolling on your spine to come up. I see this a lot, this kind of to get up. And it's not really the best, most effective, let's put it that way. It's not the most effective or most gentle way. Okay, so I'm going to cover my feet so they're nice and warm. And then I'm going to come down in my new Gorkale method way, coming down to my forearms, using the dig of the forearms into the ground, pushing them towards the feet to feel the length through the lower back, and then lowering down one vertebra at a time, taking one shoulder down and the other shoulder away from the ears, and then rotating the legs out slightly as I lengthen each leg. Nice breath of arrival here, letting the breath out through the mouth. And again. Last time. Relax and know that you have survived 100% of the days you've been alive. Whatever challenges you've faced, you've made it here. And that speaks to your amazing strength and capacity to withstand challenges and storms. And just like there is an eye to every hurricane, recognize yourself as that eye. Not just I, letter I, but I as an eye of the storm. Be that calm, centered, quiet place around which everything else may rotate wildly and with a ferocity. But you stay centered here in this place of stillness. And just as we prepare for storms in the outer world by filling up our grocery carts or filling up our gas tanks and making sure we have all those exterior needs met, use this time to fill yourself up with that centered, calm, spacious, grounded you. Soften and deepen your release, your trust of gravity, of your own body, of yourself. Now, you can begin to move your fingers and toes, opening and closing the hands, squeezing the toes and opening the toes, pressing in the arms into the floor, maybe each heel one at a time, rocking the body a little left to right. Tense release, tense release. Perhaps moving into a long body stretch and coming onto your side to rest momentarily. And when you're ready, using your top arm to push yourself up, nose to the ground. Coming into a seated position. Anything under your hips if you'd like to be a little taller. Let's bring our hands to the heart. Taking a nice deep cleansing breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. And let's chant the sound of Om 3 times. Breathing in. Om. Thank you so much for joining me today. May you be happy, healthy, and fulfilled, and safe in the storms. Thank you for watching. This is Divine Me Time. Check out my channel, other videos that I have here, and check out my website at divinemetime.com for more information about the things I offer here. And thanks for liking and subscribing and hitting the notification bell and all that stuff. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you again soon. End of screen.